Hey, welcome back. Okay, this next video, we're going to be going through the entire PSI application process. Now, this is very important that you understand this up front, that you cannot sign up for the examination or even create an examination account with PSI until you complete the 40-hour course. Then once you do, the school will give you an educational certification form, and that plus this application that I'm going to go through right now is going to be compiled and sent off to PSI. Then PSI will receive this packet of information, process it, which takes about 12 to 15 business days, and then they'll respond back to you. When they do and you've been cleared to take the examination, then they will let you open up an account, then they will let you schedule an account, and then they'll let you schedule the examination itself, okay? So you cannot set up with PSI until you're done with our program. So you have to complete that first. But this video, I'm going to go through the entire application process so that once you're done with the 40 hours, then you can complete all of this paperwork, add our educational certification form to that, and then you can send all of that to PSI, okay? So that's what this is about, and that's coming up now. Okay, so here I want to go over the PSI examination application process. And again, remember, you cannot start this process until you complete the 40-hour program and the school certifies you. So you'll get a certificate of sort of completion. It's not really a certificate. It's not like a wall certificate. It's this piece of paper, basically, that PSI provides us that we enter your information in, we stamp it with a little fancy school stamp, and we send it to you, right? So like that's the school certification form. And in addition to that, you have to complete a full application. And when you do all of that, then you send this to PSI then, but you have to complete the class first. All right. So you're going to go to psiexams.com, and you're going to see this page. PSI is the name of the testing company. Now, a note, we are not affiliated in any way with PSI. So if you have questions about scheduling, about issues, about your application process, about any of that, you are going to want to reach out to PSI, and their contact information is here on this page. So all of that is PSI. That really has nothing to do with us. Our job is to offer you the education. Our job is to make sure you complete it. Our job is to prepare you, and our job is to get you your certifications that PSI provides us with so that you can apply to sit for the exam. All right? All right. So let's scroll down here. On the left side, sort of the page off to the left, you'll see government and state licensing agencies. You're going to click on that. Then you're going to select the jurisdiction, Massachusetts. Then we're going to select all Mass real estate exams. And then you're going to click on this link. This is going to take you to the landing page that we have built for Massachusetts. So let's take a peek here at what they have on the PSI site. They have some contact us tabs, help information, program information, overviews, view available tests, check for available dates, all of that. Until you clear the 40 hours, I would ignore, because none of it is going to be useful for you at this point. There's nothing you can do about it, right? You have to complete the course. Then you're going to scroll down here. It's not very apparent, but there's a link here. It says download bulletin for mass brokers and salespersons examination. So we're going to click on this. And then what we're going to see here is the current candidate information bulletin. So you're going to want to make sure that you have the most updated one. We will send you, we'll give you links on our learning platforms, but always go to their site to make sure that you have the most recent relevant information. Like recently, this URL changed. Test takers, PSI exams, MARE, Massachusetts real estate, that changed recently, that URL. So I want you to make sure that you stay up to date with this stuff. Now, this is the candidate information bulletin. And what we're going to do next is we're going to go through it really quickly and then get to the application to make sure you understand how to complete the application once you've completed our course and you're ready to submit to PSI to request the permission to sit for this examination. Okie dokie. So we're back inside of this candidate information bulletin, and you're really expected to read through this. So definitely go through this booklet and read it. This bulletin provides information on the requirements as well as the process for achieving licensure. Candidates are eligible for the two-part examination when the application and supporting documentation are approved. So again, you are eligible for this examination when your application and supporting documentation are approved. The only way you can submit it is you got to complete the 40-hour class. In order to be approved for examination by the Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons, candidates must have the required work requirements and education. Now, if you're doing a salesperson's license, you don't have work requirements, you just need the education. If you're going to get your broker's license, this booklet is the same for both. So anybody that is thinking about, hey, I'm taking the broker's exam, is this relevant? Yes, this is the same booklet for both. But the broker's candidates have slightly more requirements. Broker candidates have a work requirement, okay? The board is contracted with PSI to process applications, field any questions on applications, notify candidates, and conduct examinations. Hence, PSI will always have the most up-to-date information on applications and examinations. Now, applicants may seek counsel at any time during the application process. An examination candidate information bulletin is written by the board and includes the board's policies and procedures as regards to the examination process and the achievement of licensure. Now, this booklet has all kinds of stuff. In the table of content, you're going to, again, go through this. Examinations by PSI services, applying for a license, scheduling procedures, examination center locations. This is a Massachusetts-specific book. Reports to the examination center, taking the examination, score reporting, and on-site licensing. Yes, when you pass the examination, both sections, and you score 70% or greater on these exams, they will tell you that congratulations, you passed, and you will be issued your licenses there, subject to you paying for the licenses, of course, at the testing centers. So one of the advantages of passing it at a testing center versus doing it remotely online is that fact, okay? And then there's examination content outlines, an outline for the general portion of the exam and an outline for the state portion of the examination. And then we get into sort of the thick of this, like the licensure process. This is a process by which an agency or state government or other jurisdiction grants permission to individuals to engage in the practice of and prohibits all others from legally practicing a particular profession, vocation, or occupation. By ensuring a minimum level of competency, the licensure process protects the general public. That's probably a test question. The Massachusetts Board of Registrations of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons is responsible for establishing the acceptable levels of safe practice and for determining whether an individual meets these standards. All right. The licensing board and their address is also right here, right below me at 1000 Washington Street, Suite 710. Here's their contact number and everything else. If you happen to have questions about the licensure process, then you can also direct that directly to the board. They're going to probably tell you direct that to PSI. And again, I'm just a conduit. My gig is to help you get through the material and finish your 40 hours of content. All right. And then it kind of goes through this. It talks about applying for a license. What are the real estate examination requirements? For a salesperson, you have to be at least 18 years of age, complete a 40-hour pre-licensing course. And if you're watching this, then hopefully you just completed my course. Obtain a completed Massachusetts Board of Real Estate Educational Certificate form. This is the form I was talking about at the beginning of the video. Completed by an approved real estate school. Obtain 3 candidate endorsements, and individuals on these endorsements have to be unrelated to the applicant. During your coursework, we go over those moral character references. They do not need to be Massachusetts residents, but classmates known to the applicants only from the real estate course may not sign candidate endorsements. So that's salesperson. And then the broker requirements. You have to be at least 18 years of age, complete another 40-hour pre-licensing course, have been licensed and affiliated with a Massachusetts broker in the capacity of a Massachusetts real estate salesperson for 3 years. The experience requirement must be no more than 2 years old when the examination is taken. Obtain a completed Massachusetts Board of Real Estate Educational Certification form completed by a board-approved real estate school, like us. All right. And have a current Massachusetts salesperson's license. Have a $5,000 surety bond on the original form enclosed and completed and signed by the insurance agent. And then have 3 moral character references. So that's what it takes to become a broker. And again, you have some work requirements as a salesperson in order to be eligible for your broker's license. And read these packets thoroughly and you'll get a better understanding. It elaborates a little bit more about the 3-year affiliation requirements. This video isn't going to be me going through all of these specific details, so I'm kind of glazing over it. I want to get to the application to show you how to fill it out to send it to PSI. But I just want to show you there's tons of information here. Licensing requirements, what does it take? Apply and pass your real estate licensure examination within 2 years of the date of completing the required salesperson's education. Note, it is recommended that candidates do not wait until their certificate is ready to expire to apply for their test. Candidates must be allowed ample time within the 2-year period when taking the examination reservation. Be prepared to pay for the license on the day of the examination upon passing the exam. Have, pursuant to Mass General Law, to the best of their knowledge, filed all state tax returns and paid all state taxes required by law, and provide a valid Social Security number and or valid tax identification number, which is mandatory. Now, to get your broker's license, you have to apply and pass the licensure examination again within 2 years of completing the broker's education. Be prepared to pay for the license on the day of examination. Be currently licensed as a salesperson in Massachusetts at the time of application. The license may either be active or inactive at the time of the examination. Have been licensed as an active Massachusetts salesperson affiliated with the Massachusetts real estate broker for at least 3 years at a minimum of 25 hours per week. The experience requirements must be no more than 2 years old when the examination is taken, and then you have to get a $5,000 surety bond. Note that a broker needs to be bonded, not a salesperson. There's no bonding requirements for a salesperson. Paid all of your real estate taxes and provide a valid Social Security number. Okay, so that's just a little bit about what it takes to be licensed. They're going to talk about qualifying questions. If you answer a yes to any of these qualifying questions, have you ever been in this state or any other state or jurisdiction, had a criminal conviction of some kind or something like that? If you answer yes to any of the discipline questions on the application found at the end of the candidate information bulletin, they may affect the candidate's ability to become licensed in the Commonwealth of Mass. At this time, the board does not license applicants who are currently on probation or parole. All right. To review the board's good moral character policies, click on the statutes and regulations link, and then click on the board policies and guidelines link. Then click on the determination of good moral character for initial broker and salespersons by licensure, reciprocity waiver, or educational requirements, and it will explain all of that information if you've had an infraction in the past. Okay. Approved education providers, the continuing education, all of this stuff is relevant for examinations, by the way. Licensing term, we go over that during your class, and then the scheduling procedures, and that's coming up next. Okay, let's take a look at the scheduling procedures for the examination. The examination is divided into 2 parts, the general portion and the state portion of the exam. Candidates who pass one portion of the examination and fail the other need to retake only the failed portion. The failed portion must be successfully completed within 2 years from the completion date on the educational certification form or the authorized period by the board. If the educational certificate expires, the partial pass also expires. Candidates who obtain a new education certification must retake both portions of the exam. So as of the current moment that this is being recorded, and again, anything is subject to change. So don't take my word as gospel always. Go to the PSI site and always read this book from them in case pricing changes and stuff. But as of right now, the examination fee for salesperson candidates is $85 and the broker candidates is $106. The examination fees are non-refundable or transferable. The examination fee is valid for 1 year from the date of payment. If a candidate fails to appear for their scheduled examination or fails to cancel, change their reservation within 2 days prior to the scheduled appointment, the examination fee will be forfeited, and the candidate will be unable to schedule or reschedule the examination until they pay the appropriate retake fee. The fee to retake all salesperson and broker candidate exams is $54. Payments must be made at the time of scheduling by major credit cards. Payments for the examination will not be accepted at the testing center. There's a little bit here on active duty military or veterans and the veterans discount form. You can check that out. And then there's this entire piece on online scheduling and what to do. Now, all of this and scheduling comes after you've completed your 40 hours, filled out the application, which we're about to get into, and submit all of that paperwork to PSI for their consideration. All right, so I'm going to kind of go through this quickly. When it's time to schedule, go through this booklet. It'll walk you through the different pieces that you need to know. All right, so there's that. Scheduling at a testing center, scheduling for the remote appointment. Because remember, you can take this examination either at an actual testing center or you can do it remotely from your, from like a remote location, like an office cubicle or a home office or something like that. But in order to do that, you have to check the requirements for taking it remotely. Like, for example, here, they would never let me take it in a studio like this. There's so many monitors and screens, they'd be worried that I would be cheating or something like that. So it has to be very strict guidelines as to how and where, what the room should look like when you're doing it. And you can find all of that information here. Now, one of the things that I do want to point out is you want to make sure you understand that when you're paying for the examination, that once you're clear from PSI and they say, hey, go ahead into our online system, create an account and schedule, at that point, can you pay for the examination? So you pay for the exam, then you don't have to prepay for it up front when you send in your application. Then how do you schedule for remote proctored examinations? And then go from there. Okay, so that's all of the information right here about bookings and times, telephone, email, contact. You can also contact and communicate with them if you really want through standard snail mail. Okay. And it gives you governance on rescheduling and cancellation of exams. All of that is there. And then about retaking a failed examination, what happens if you miss an appointment, and any of those that need special examination accommodations. All of the test centers operate in accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And if you have special requirements or needs, then there are applications and request docs in this packet that you can request directly through PSI. Then they go through the different test center locations here in Massachusetts that offer this examination. Some locations may not be listed in this packet that may be available on their website once you are cleared to take the exam. Just so you know, the ones that are listed here aren't the only ones necessarily. Then it tells you what to do when you're reporting on the day to the examination center. Remember, show up 30 minutes before your examination appointment. Tells you what types of identification to bring, or if you're doing it remotely, what kind of identification you're going to be flashing to the camera. If you're going to be taking it remotely, you have to have a webcam and microphones. They will be monitoring you. A human will be monitoring you taking this examination from a remote location. Then it goes through security procedures. Taking the examination by computer, how it works. These are all deployed on computers. And then it gives you some governance on where you can find potential practice examinations, how score reporting works. You need to score a minimum of 70% to pass the examination on both sections of the exam. One part is 80 scored questions. The other part is 40 scored questions. And then if you pass, then they will issue your license right then and there. And the cost for the state licenses, again, as of the filming of this, anything can change. So please always check back with the actual booklets published on the day that you're inquiring, right? That's always useful. Salesperson's fees are between $103 and $150, and broker license fees are between $142 and $200. There's also a fee for processing the license of $12 that is paid to PSI. Candidates who do not pay for a license upon passing must fill out a license application instruction form allowing them to apply by mail within 30 days of passing the examination. You may request a duplicate license application instruction form after the examination by emailing scorereport@psionline.com or calling that 855 number. Candidates are responsible for thoroughly reading this bulletin. Make sure you read it, okay? Definitely read it. It's useful when I'm going through it, but make sure y'all read it. And then license issuance requirements. They will not accept cash for the license, by the way. You have to bring a credit card or something, debit card. And then we get to the outlines. And let's go through this briefly, and then we'll get into the application. Okie dokie, let's talk about the examination content outlines for both the salesperson and the broker's examinations. Examination content outlines have been approved by the Division of Professional Licensure. These outlines reflect the minimum knowledge required by real estate professionals to perform their duties to the public in a competent and responsible manner. Changes in the examination content will be preceded by changes in these published examination outlines. Use the outlines as a basis of your study. The outlines list the topics that are on the examination, the number of items for each topic. Do not schedule your examination until you are familiar with all of the topics in the outline. All right. With the salesperson's examination, the general portion of your exam, that's, remember, 80 scored multiple choice questions. You're given 150 minutes to complete that section. The state portion of the examination has 40 scored questions, and you're given 90 minutes to perform that one. Together, it's 120 questions for salespersons and 240 minutes. Now, the broker has 75 questions. Some of the questions are scored up to 2 points. So the broker examinations have may even have 5 or 6 part multiple choice in some instances. So you have a little bit fewer questions, but some of the questions have more weight on them. And then you have a 40 question state examination. So you have a total of roughly 120 scored questions at 240 minutes, just like the brokers. Also keep in mind here that you're going to get some experimental questions. In addition to the number of examination items specified in the examination content outline, a small number between 5 and 10 of experimental questions may be administered to candidates during the examinations. These questions will not be scored, however, the questions will count against examination time. The administration of such unscored experimental questions is an essential step in developing future licensing examination content. So that just means you're going to get, instead of 120 questions, you might see 85 general exam questions. Maybe you'll see 50 state exam questions. And those extra questions won't be marked in any specific way, but you just have to take these questions in addition to all the other questions, and then just so that they can gather statistics on the appropriateness for use on future examinations of these questions. We're just kind of trying them out on you. They'll never mark them, though. And then on page 15, as the beginning of the general portion outline. These are all of the topics. And if you take my course, you're going to know that, we offer some pretty awesome ways to be able to research and get this information by utilizing our advanced search features and everything else in our content. So that for those of y'all that took it with us, you have a bit of a leg up on doing this studying, but this is the outlines that we use. And in our content, you've all found that we post these in many, many places to make sure that we reinforce all of the stuff that you're learning here. All right, so that's the general exam outline. And then we have, towards the bottom of the third page, page 17, the state portion of your outlines. This is all the state content here, starting with Roman numeral 1, going all the way down here to Roman numeral 9, additional topics. All of this stuff here is all of the Massachusetts specific stuff. And that's on the third page, page 17. So that for us in our program, that's that entire one homework module where you're looking at all of those different modules that make up the state portion of the exam. Then don't forget, we also have some killer grammar programs that condense all of this material into very, very distilled down topics as well. So for those that need more of a condensed understanding of everything, we have those available for you if you reach out to us. And then they give you some sample questions just to understand what it's going to look and feel like. So make sure you do go through those so you understand them. Again, remember, brokers have slightly different types of questions. They might have a 6-part multiple choice, as you have here. More than one answer might be right here, and you get points, more than 1 point. For the salespersons, it's pretty straight up, 4-part multiple choice. A, B, C, D, the answer is in front of us. We just need to read through the questions to get to those scenarios. And that leads us to the application checklist, sort of the pre-checklist before the application. This is one page, and then we're going to get right into the application, and that's coming up next. Okay, dokie, let's do this. All right, so we're in the application in the PSI Candidate Information Bulletin, right? And now this is the same. This is a little confusing. Not my fault here, just telling you. This is the same application for salespersons, and it is the same application for broker. So please read this carefully, right? As you're kind of scrolling through this. This first thing on page 19 of that booklet is a complete checklist before you mail your application, right? So once you're done with the course and you get the educational certification form that we give you, you take that and then you add this to this pile. Here's the application. After following the prior guidelines, do your final check. Is the application legible, complete, and signed? The current Massachusetts license number and other issue dates indicated. Brokers only. Look, it says brokers only here, right? So there are some things that the salesperson candidates do not need to include, and it's marked by broker only. Everything else you guys have to also include, you guys meaning salespersons. So everybody needs a current picture. Everybody has, now look, the corrected fee is attached or credit card information included, no cash. You don't have to prepay for the test here. This should have been corrected. This is a bit of a faux pas on PSI's part. Again, I'm not going to dog them too much. They test all kinds of different disciplines and stuff, so it happens. But you don't have to prepay. You will pay when you are approved to create an account and you're greenlit to take the exam. Then when you log into their system, that's when you can pay. All right. Appropriate work experience, that's brokers only. Any candidate endorsements, that's for everybody. Those are those 3 moral character references. I'll show you the form. And for brokers, you need a $5,000 surety bond. Everybody needs to pass a criminal offender record information, criminal background check here for Massachusetts. This form has to be notarized or performed in front of a notary. I'll show you the 2 pages. And then there's the school form. The correct school form is filled out. We'll get you that. The student name is in the form. We write that in. The total hours, we will write that in. And the school seal, we will stamp it with our seal. And then if you're a broker candidate, there's work experience, and you have that paperwork there as well. Please be aware that when your application arrives at PSI, it is reviewed as quickly as possible, usually a matter of days or weeks. We cannot wait for missing documentation. Your application will be returned if it is missing documentation, which will create unnecessary delays. So it is in your best interest to make sure your application is ready for approval on first review. When you're done, my suggestion is completely and email the application to this email address right here. You could mail it to this location here. And fax copies will not be accepted. What's a fax machine? I'm just kidding. All right, so then, there's that. So email or mail, right? Now, here's the application. First things first, the very tip top. You have to embed a photograph, or you're going to fix a photograph here. Now, I'm using something called Adobe. I'm using Acrobat Pro, right, for example, to demo this. So here, I can basically I can attach documents, I can attach pictures, and all kinds of stuff. You want to make sure a photograph is here. Then you're going to check off what you're applying for. So if you're a broker candidate, you're going to check here. And then if you're a broker candidate, then you're going to put your salesperson's license number here and the date issued. If you're a salesperson, you're just going to check this section right here, and that's for salesperson candidates. Social security numbers are required for everybody. Date of birth, gender. You can also prefer to not answer. Last name, first name, middle name, generation. Are you a third? Are you a second? That kind of thing, right? Former names, also known as maiden names, and then your complete address. Building number, street address, P.O. box, city, state, zip, all standard. Phone number, and then make sure you type in a clean email address here, right? So you just want to make sure that the email address is super clean. I'm just giving you a sort of a dummy one. Right, so d@exam.com, and then make sure you check off how you wish communication to come in. Preferred that or through some kind of post mail or email, right? So you want to make sure that you fill in all of this information. Right? So here's, just so you understand, all of this has to be done. Date of birth. Gender, last name, first name. I'm doing all this just so you make sure there's no confusion. Right? Building number, street address. All right, so you get the point here. Don't forget your photograph up top here. That's the first page. Second page, education requirements, salesperson's examination. What did you complete? So y'all have to do your 40 hours. So we're going to check off 40 hours. Brokers, same deal if you're going to be doing that, okay, just so you know. Now, if you're getting the broker's license, then you need to show work experience. Note here it says NA for salespersons. For brokers, what was your work experience? You check that off here. And then if there was any out-of-state educational waivers, you want to provide those by checking off there. Then you're going to basically answer these yes/no questions. Has the license or certification board located in the United States or any other county or region jurisdiction to have taken any disciplinary action against you? Yes or no? So the answer is yes, then you have to provide what happened. If the answer is no, then you just have to check off no, right? So like, again, we want to go through this. Are you the subject of pending complaints that may result in disciplinary action by licensing or certification boards located within the United States or any country or foreign jurisdiction? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, explain why. If the answer is no, then you just keep going. Have you ever voluntarily surrendered or resigned a professional license to a licensing certification board in this state or any country or foreign jurisdiction? Yes or no? If you answer yes, you have to explain what. If the answer is no, then answer no. Have you ever applied or been denied a professional license in the U.S. or any other jurisdiction? If the answer is yes, you have to explain what. And if the answer is no, then just check no. Have you ever been admitted or convicted of a felony or misdemeanor in the United States or any other country or foreign jurisdiction? If the answer is yes, then you have to send in court documentation and write a letter explaining what happened, how it happened, and what was the outcome. Without this paperwork, your application will be denied by the state board. Use a separate sheet if necessary, okay? Number 6, do you have any opening or pending charges pertaining to a felony or misdemeanor in the U.S. or any country or any foreign jurisdiction? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, candidates must send in court documentation and write a letter explaining what happened, how it happened, and what was the outcome. Without this paperwork, your application will be denied by the state board. The board is certified by Criminal History Systems Board to access data about convictions pending criminal cases. Those records and other federal and professional records may be checked as a part of your licensing process. No record is an automatic disqualifier. You will be given an opportunity for a limited appearance before the board. By signing this application, I certify under the pains of penalty and perjury that the information I have provided pursuant to the application for the licensure is truthful and accurate. Read through this and then you sign and date. Okay, so that's page 2 of your application. The next page is the criminal offender record information. This is CORI, all right, the criminal background check. So this has to be completed, and it has to be completed in front of a notary that can verify your ID to make sure you are who you say you are. Now, read through this. This is something that has to be done when you apply. Your signature goes here. The date goes here. Now, please provide the names of the board of registration and license type for which you are applying or currently hold. Here, you're going to type in, so the board of, you can type in the real estate board for salespersons and brokers. You can type the board of registration of real estate brokers and salespersons. I'm going to add that one as well to the video. So you can just type in here when it says board of registration, it's going to say board of registration. I might say board of registration of the board of BOR stands for Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons. And then your license type, you don't have to do BOR. You can write in Board of Registration. It's written down here. So I'm just shortening that for you. It's the Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons. And the license type, you're just going to type that in. So a lot of candidates are getting their salesperson's license. Some are going to be getting their broker's license. That's the more advanced of the two. So let's say it's salespersons in this example. Boom. Okay. So salesperson's license, and that goes in there. Now, this 2-page CORI acknowledgement form will not be accepted unless it has been signed in the presence of a notary. So this signature right here on the first page of the criminal background check must be signed and witnessed in front of a notary. And then this next page, you have to fill out where it's the asterisks are. So again, last name, first name, maiden name, date of birth, place of birth, social security number, the entire thing, sex, eye color, driver's license or ID number, and the state of issue. Then current and former address if applicable. All of this is done and verified in front of a notary. So a notary has to sign off on these 2 pages when you are completing them. So fill out all the information on the criminal background registration form. Fill out the Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons, the license type salesperson. You sign this in front of a notary and you date, okay? These 2 pages done in front of a notary filled out. This next form is the school certification form. We will fill this out. Once you complete your 40 hours, we will complete this. For our school, if you're doing it with us, then all you have to do is reach out to one of our ops staff, and they will absolutely double check everything and make sure we're all good to go. And if we're good to go, then you will get this form stat. We will complete it for you, and that's it. So if you're a salesperson, we'll complete this side candidate, or if you're a broker candidate, we'll complete this side. Okay? If you're a broker candidate, you need to provide us with your license number. That's the only thing. And if you're a salesperson's candidate, you don't have a license, so we'll just complete this for you and get it to you. Done. Nothing else on this form. That's our job to get to you once you complete the 40 hours. Then we get to the candidate endorsements. This is your moral character references. You need 3 references. They don't have to be residents of the state of Massachusetts, so you can send this out. They can be residents of other states. People that know you that can vouch for you. Can't be directly related to you, by the way. And people that you met in the real estate class only that first time cannot fill this out. So if you've known them prior to that, that's okay. But if you only met them just then no. Then they fill this out in their handwriting, okay? Section must be completed in ink. So they don't want it typed up. They want this in ink. Unless something changes, you can check in with them. But right now, they're saying it right here. We want it in ink. I, the undersigned, certify that the applicant who's known to me has a good reputation for honesty and fair dealings and is of good moral character. The board may assume in endorsing this applicant, I will be willing to interpret or substantiate to the board my endorsement should the board desire to contact me at a later date. They fill this out. They sign their name at the top here. They print their name in ink. They put in their address, and then they fill in their occupation. Now, some of y'all might have, like, you might be up here for college, and then you might have a college roommate. They just want to write full-time college student. That's fine. So whatever their occupation is at the time, that's what they're going to fill in. They fill this out. You don't fill it out for them. They sign. You don't sign for them. They don't have to be residents of Massachusetts. They just have to be people that can vouch for you. You need 3, 1, 2, and 3. Broker candidates and salesperson candidates need this moral character references, okay? Now that's all for salespersons. That kind of wraps up what you need to do. You compile all of that stuff and then you upload it via email through to PSI, to that email address, and then you just wait. The clock is going now. You don't have to pay up front. Once they clear you, the criminal background check is cleared, all of the application paperwork is verified and checked, then they'll send you an email or they'll mail you and say you've been cleared. You can go to our website now, create an account, and schedule your examination. And at that point, that's when you pay. Okay. For those that are going to get their broker's license, your employing broker that you're currently working at must fill out this paperwork. So they fill this out, the 25 hours a week, minimum of 3 years, actively licensed, that whole thing. All of that is completed by your broker that verify for you. They give you additional places in case you've jumped and you've done your apprenticeship. It doesn't have to be at one brokerage firm. It could be at multiple ones. That's filled out. And then an example of how to fill out the real estate broker bond. Your insurance companies that you're getting the bond from will be able to assist you in how to fill this part out. So there's that. And that is all of it. And the rest of it are, if there's the special accommodations, they give you a sample, a bond form, a blank one, so you can provide that to your insurance company. Various bond companies that offer bonding for this particular $5,000 bond. Remember, salespersons don't need bonds. I'm just going through this pretty quickly. If you're an active military duty or veteran, then there's a discount form that you can apply with here in advance. Okay, they do discount those. Check those out. And then if there's any accommodation requests, you can request them through PSI directly. All right. That covers the entire application process. Now, don't forget, this The application process that we just went through, you cannot do. I mean, you can preemptively start to fill out the paperwork, right? Or get your references to fill out the references and everything else and start compiling everything. That's what I would do. So in anticipation of getting through this course, and then once the course is done, you'll get your educational cert from us. Once you get that, you put that on top of everything else in the application, it's signed, and then you launch it off via email would be my suggestion. Don't forget your photograph goes in on this application as well. And then you're going to want to wait. According to their website, currently, we're going to wait somewhere between 12 to 15 business days, and then they're going to get back to you. Make sure you sender authenticate the email address that you're sending this correspondence to and anything coming from PSI online. Let me scroll back really quickly to this section right here. So you're going to be sender authenticating anything going to PSI online. I would go ahead and look up your email directions on how to sender authenticate. This way, any information or instructions, once they clear you, remember 10 to 15 days, you might miss an email. I get hundreds of emails a day. So you go through and you're like, okay, you create a mailbox for it and it just puts it right there. This way you're able to easily identify if anything comes back or any correspondence comes back. So as soon as you send something and they send you confirmation of that thing, then sender authenticate. Then you know it's going to a specific place. And then they have an 855 number on their website that you can call if you don't hear back from them. But then at that point, once they get back to you, you clear a criminal background check, the application is clean, everything is good to go, and they'll tell you to set up an account. Then you can prepay for the examination. Then you can schedule your time either at a physical center or remotely. Go through the directions, read this candidate information booklet, and if you have any questions directly, you can address them with PSI. All right. I hope this was helpful for y'all. When it comes down to filling out the application. I'm excited because if you're getting to this part, that means you finished the course, and I'm super excited you're going to be taking your examination. Study hard, study well, and make sure you pass. I'm looking forward to hearing your success stories, and we're here if you need us. Thanks once again for signing up for this course. I hope you enjoyed it if this is the conclusion of that. And if not, at least you're going through the application process preemptively. I hope you're enjoying the course and all the programming that we're offering to get you ready for this examination. I'll see you on the inside.